It's the late 18th century. France, the most powerful kingdom in Europe, is starving. The royal court dances under chandeliers in Versailles, while peasants in the countryside grind sawdust into their bread. The treasury is empty, the king is indecisive, and the people are out of patience. This is the story of how a nation that ruled by divine right was brought to its knees by its own people. The story of the French Revolution. France had bled itself dry fighting wars abroad, most recently helping the American colonies defeat Britain. That victory inspired the French to dream of liberty, equality, and fraternity. But it also emptied the nation's coffers. In 1783, a volcanic eruption in Iceland spewed ash across Europe, blighting crops and freezing summers. By 1788, bread prices had tripled. People were rioting for food, while the rich still feasted on pastries and wine. King Louis XVI, a well-meaning but indecisive monarch, tried to reform the tax system, but the nobles and the church, who owned most of the land and paid no taxes, refused. So the king called for a meeting of the Estates General, the first in 175 years. 3 groups gathered: the clergy, the nobility, and the common people, the Third Estate. When the Third Estate arrived, they quickly saw the game was rigged. Each estate had 1 vote, meaning the privileged 2 could always outvote the people. Locked out of their chamber, the delegates of the Third Estate met in a nearby tennis court. There, they swore the tennis court oath, a promise not to disband until France had a new constitution. In that moment, France's subjects declared themselves citizens. The revolution had begun. On July 14th, 1789, Paris erupted. Rumors spread that the king was sending troops to crush the new National Assembly. Citizens armed themselves and stormed the Bastille, a medieval fortress and symbol of royal tyranny. When its gates fell, so too did the illusion of the king's control. The fall of the Bastille became the spark that set France ablaze, a day still celebrated as Bastille Day. In the countryside, peasants attacked manors, burned tax records, and declared an end to feudalism. The National Assembly responded with one of the most influential documents in history, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen. All men are born and remain free and equal in rights. These words inspired revolutions far beyond France, but hunger persisted. In October, thousands of women marched through the rain from Paris to Versailles, demanding bread and justice. They forced the royal family back to Paris, now prisoners of their own people. In 1791, the king tried to flee the country disguised as a servant. He was caught at Varennes, and whatever trust remained was shattered. Foreign monarchies, terrified their own people might revolt, declared war on revolutionary France. Inside, factions emerged, moderates who wanted reform, and radicals who wanted the king's head. In January 1793, Louis XVI was executed by guillotine. The revolution had devoured its king. France descended into chaos. The young republic was surrounded by enemies abroad and traitors within, or so it was believed. Under Maximilien Robespierre and the Committee of Public Safety, fear became law. The guillotine, once a symbol of justice, became the engine of terror. Over 40,000 people, nobles, priests, even former revolutionaries, were executed in the name of liberty. Among the victims were Queen Marie Antoinette, revolutionary leader Georges Danton, and eventually Robespierre himself. When his head fell, so too did the reign of terror. By 1795, the revolution had eaten itself. A new government, the Directory, tried to restore order, but corruption and instability reigned. France was exhausted, broke, and leaderless. And then came a young general, Napoleon Bonaparte. He promised stability, glory, and victory. In 1799, he seized power in a coup, ending the revolution and beginning an empire. The people who had once cried, "No kings," now cheered for an emperor. The French Revolution shattered the old world. It proved that ordinary people could overthrow kings, but also that freedom without unity can turn to terror. Its ideas, liberty, equality, fraternity, outlived the bloodshed. They inspired movements from Haiti to Latin America, from women's rights to democracy itself. 2 centuries later, the revolution still asks us the same question: What is freedom worth, and who truly speaks for the people? The French Revolution, 1789 to 1799. The people rose, and the world changed.